Welcome back, and in this segment we will be talking about Operation Sinai 2018, which is being conducted by the armed forces and the Egyptian police to counter terrorism and purge terrorist groups in North Sinai as well as parts of Egypt, whether in the Western Desert or in the Nile Delta. Actually, this operation is entirely supported by the Egyptian people, with all its the various even institutions and civil society organizations, even those who are called opposition parties even are totally supporting the army. And we will be talking about the role of the society in countering terrorism and supporting the efforts of the war on terrorism. And I'm happy to have with me Dr. Zeinab Shaine, and she's a professor of sociology, to talk to us about that topic. Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon. It's nice to talk about such an interesting topic, and it's a serious and important one as well.
Thank you, Dr. Zeinab. And we need from you to tell us more about how do you see the psychology of the Egyptians regarding the latest operation in Sinai. How do they feel, and how this reacts on their daily life?
I believe the way they feel is an extension of the way they felt altogether. Historically, Egyptians have a great deal of respect to armed forces. They have a great deal of association armed forces with honor, pride. So it is an extension of this kind of feeling that you feel that there is protection by the army, and therefore they have very positive attitude towards the army. So I would say that what's happening now presently in Sinai is an extension of this deep-seated feeling that the army is doing a great job for the Egyptian society. The army is doing a great job for different institutions in society. So it is, again, I would repeat, is an extension of the this past feeling of positive and positive achievements.
Dr. Zeinab, how can we support the army and the police in fighting terrorism?
There must be some kind of coalition, some kind of alliance, some kind of joining forces between the army and the people. People, as I said before, respect the army. They regard it with a great deal of, again, respect and take pride in talking about their army and the achievements of the army and the success of the army. So what they can do now at this stage is to ally with the army in whatever the army feels required at this stage of activity. So it is a matter of supporting the army in whatever they are doing, whatever they raise as they need to have this kind of alliance.
If we talk internationally, how do you see the international community are viewing this latest operation in Sinai? And at the same time, how should we deliver the message to the foreign community that Egypt is safe?
Okay, first I would like to stress the notion, not because I'm Egyptian and I'm proud of my army, of the army. I would like to stress the notion that the army is looked, the Egyptian army is looked at as a strong power, as a strong army. This is on the international, regional, and local level. It is looked at as a strong entity, as a strong institution. So, along with this theme, if I come back to your point, which is your point, internationally, I think internationally it reflects the biases and interests of different international entities. If they are with Egypt, they think highly of what's happening. If they are against Egypt, they, politically speaking, they don't feel positive about it, and they may raise gossips, may raise negative stances, which make people upset because of this wrong intervention.
Doctor, you've just mentioned how that the West and internationally there is a misconception sometimes. How can we utilize the social media to fix and repair such misconceptions?
The media has...
The social media, like the internet, the Facebook, and
yes,
other platforms.
It has a very decisive role, very important role. to carry out, because it is accessible to people and it is very influential. I feel that the media has to strategize, to set plans, to set programs in order to make sure that whatever they call for is materialized and implemented along positive and right channels.
How do you view the Egyptian character among ages? Are Egyptians now changed completely different than before, or they are still the same?
One of the most important traits that I realize Egyptians have is that of love of army. This is not found in other places, or it is not found in many other places. It's found in other places, but not in many other places. So this love of army is not a new invention. This has been there since the pharaonic time. You see the battles and how wars are inscribed in walls, in monuments, in temples, to show how the army is so successful and is so strong. So this is an old business of love and interaction between two entities that they have mutual love and understanding of each other. I would also like to tell you that to raise the issue that in every house, in every family, we find someone who is
member of the army.
Member of the army, and also members. The army has a lot of people from society working there, so it is a matter of mutual love, because we are all Egyptians and we are all concerned with the development of our country, and therefore with whatever the army does, there must be some kind of alliance, there must be some kind of joining forces in order to support the army in what ordeal is taking place.
Doctor, what about the religious discourse and its role, especially that when the operation started, Al-Azhar announced its full support for the operations undertaken by our armed forces and police. So the role of the religious institutions, whether Al-Azhar or even the Coptic Orthodox Church, which also supported the army in its heroic endeavor, the role of the religious discourse in raising the awareness among the public when it comes to terrorism and countering terrorism.
Again, it's a very decisive role. It's a very important role, especially that always religion is associated with reverence and acceptance and respect. Mm-hmm. So it really is a decisive role, and I think they can play a very big part in the actualization and realization of whatever ends set by the army. And there must be some kind of coalition, because only through coalition, only through mutual support, this is going to, ends are going to be fulfilled and objectives are going to be realized.
If you're talking to tourists or to foreigners abroad, what you're going to tell them about Egypt nowadays? We're fighting terrorism, but what else? What kind of message you would deliver to them?
Well, you just said it, tourism and how it is safe. You know, there is a structure theory set by Maslow, one of the psychologists, and it is a pyramidical structure of need assessment. And the largest part in the pyramidical structure is that of safety, security, and protection. And people believe that this is very important. They have been protected so far by the army because of this provision of security, safety, and protection. And therefore, it is really important to realize that the army is taking, had it not been for the army, and had not Egyptians felt this kind of protection and safety and security, they would have not been able to stand against whatever attacks, whatever threats that the Egyptians faced, whether internally or externally. The belief that they are protected by the army, the belief that they feel safe and secure by the, through the army's endeavors and forces, this makes them able to survive all of these attacks and to succeed in defeating them.
Doctor, as a professor of sociology, I'd like to ask you about the safety and security of the country versus economic reform, the importance of it from a sociological point of view.
Again, provision of economic security, provision of services along different sectors, along different institutions, make the people, Egyptians, feel that they are again protected, again secure, because they know that they're not going to be left alone to solve these problems. It is going to be part and parcel of army's objectives to make people meet ends. And I think they are doing a good job, and I feel that people are starting to realize that no matter if we talk about the increase of prices, it is still accommodated by the efforts enacted by the army.
Well, Dr. Zeinab Shaine, Professor of Sociology, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Well, Doctor, thank you very much for being here with us as we were talking about the importance of the armed forces and the importance of its role in fighting terrorism. But I think I have an extra question, Dina, for the doctor. Can I ask you before we wrap up this segment? I'd like, Doctor, to ask you, when it comes to the sociology of a society, would the social classes differ in terms of aggression or peacefulness? Can terrorism be spread in a certain class more than another, or is it an ideological thing?
I think it is subjected to the interest of different groups. If the interest is coinciding with terrorism, they would express that, and the reverse is true. Interest is the name of the game.
Yes, and when it comes to the people, now actually the entire society is condemning terrorism, and usually we tend to say that it's poverty, it's ignorance that leads to such behavior. To what extent is that true or false?
I believe ignorance is a detrimental state, and this is impacting on different sectors of the society if it exists and if it is taken by.
Yes, and another thing is that we tend to believe that it's and for me, I do believe that actually the outside forces are manipulating the public, and that we have a lot of elements which are not Egyptian. Of course, there are some, but now how can we counter that? How can we counter the interference of certain foreign entities in our affairs?
This is the real challenge now. We must gain awareness that these people or these forces are playing a negative role in our society, and so we have to be aware of that, and we have to join forces and have to link our efforts together in order to redress these things.
Yes, Doctor. Finally, what's your advice to Egyptians when it comes to the concept of terrorism and security, the security of the homeland?
Well, we should not pass gossips. We should not have a negative attitude toward understanding the real aspects and the real causes of these issues. So if we are broad-minded, we have to listen, and we have to be careful in our assessment of the situation.
Dr. Zeinab Shaine, Professor of Sociology, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And now we will be going to a quick break, but we'll be back on Nile Cruise, so stay with us.